It happened the first night of Hanukkah. As always, there was a great deal of snow, frost, and blizzards. Things had reached such a stage at Felik's house that finally there was not even a loaf of bread. In better times, Felik had possessed a number of silver objects, candlesticks, a spice box, a Passover plate, but Manny's, the oldest child, had to sell them all. There was one precious article still in the house, an antique Hanukkah lamp made by some ancient silversmith. There lived a usurer in town who would pay a pittance for the most costly objects. Manny's wanted to sell him the Hanukkah lamp too, but Felik said to his son, "Wait until after Hanukkah." There were a few pennies left in the house, but instead of buying bread, Manny's bought oil and wicks for the Hanukkah lights. The girls complained that they were hungry, and Manny said to them, "Let's imagine that it's Yom Kippur." I know this story because Manny's told it to me several years later. Since Felik could not leave bed anymore, Manny's brought the lamp to his father on the first night of Hanukkah, and Felik made the proper benedictions and lit the first light. He also hummed the song Rock of Ages and kissed his children. Then Manny's took the Hanukkah lamp to the living room and put it on the windowsill, according to the law. The children sat at the table hungry, without having eaten supper. It was cold in the house. Only a year before, Felik had given his children Hanukkah money to play dreidel, and Sarah had fried pancakes for the family. Now everything was bathed in gloom. The children looked at each other with eyes that seemed to ask, "From whence cometh my help?" Suddenly, they heard a knock at the door. Who could this be, Manny's asked himself. Probably someone with a gift. His father had warned him again and again not to accept any gifts. Manny's decided not to open the door this time, so as to avoid arguing with the good people. But the knocking at the door did not stop. After a while, Manny's went to the door, ready to say, "Father told me not to accept anything." When he opened it, he saw a squire, tall, broad-shouldered, and in a long fur coat with tails down to his ankles and a fur hat sprinkled with snow. Manny's became so frightened that he lost his tongue. It almost never happened that a squire came into a Jewish house, especially in the evening. In my day, when a squire visited a village, he came in a carriage, harnessed to 8 horses, and his valets rode in frost to clear the way for him. Often they blew trumpets to announce that the great Lord was coming. Bilgare still belonged to Count Zamoyski, who was as rich and mighty as a king. To Manny's, the squire said, "I passed by in my sleigh, and I saw a little light in a lamp the likes of which I've never seen in my life, with goblets, flowers, a lion, a deer, a leopard, an eagle, all beautifully done. Why did you kindle only one light if there are 8 holders? Is this some Jewish holiday? And where are your parents?" Manny's knew Polish and how to speak to an important man. He said, "Come in, Your Excellency. It is for us a great honor." The squire entered the living room, and for a long while he stared at the Hanukkah lamp. He began to question Manny's and the boy told him the story of Hanukkah, how the Jews fought the Greeks in ancient times in the land of Israel. He also told him of the miracle that happened with the oil for lighting the menorah in the temple, how after the war there was barely enough oil left to light the menorah for 1 day, but a miracle happened and the oil was sufficient for 8 days. Then the squire saw a dreidel on the table and said, "What is this?" Although the children had no money with which to play, they had put a dreidel there just to remind them of former times. Mayonnaise explained to the squire that Hanukkah is the only holiday when children are allowed to play games. He told him the rules of the dreidel. The squire asked, "Could I play with you?" "My driver will wait with the sleigh. It's cold outside, but my horses are covered with blankets, and the driver has a fur jacket." "Your Excellency," Mayonnaise said, "my father is sick. We have no mother, and we don't have a penny to our name." The squire said, "I intend to offer you 1,000 gulden for your magnificent lamp, but I don't have the whole sum with me. So I will give you 500 gulden in advance, and with this money you can play." As he said this, he took a large bag of gold coins from his coat and threw it on the table. The children were so astonished that they forgot their hunger. The game began, and with the greatest unbeliever could have seen that the whole event was a wonder from heaven. The children kept winning, and the squire kept losing. In 1 hour, the squire lost all his gold, and the children won every coin. Then the squire cried out, "Lost is lost. My driver and my horses must be cold. Good night, happy Hanukkah, and don't worry about your father. With God's help, he will soon recover." Only after the squire had left did the children realize what had happened to them. Not only had they gotten 500 gulden as an advance on the lamp, but the squire had lost additional money. Half the table was covered with gold coins. The girls burst out crying. Mayonnaise ran outside to see if the squire and the sleigh and the horses and the driver were still there, but they had all vanished without leaving any tracks in the snow. Usually horses harnessed to a sleigh have bells on their necks, and you can hear them jingling from far away, but the night was quiet. I will make it short. The moment the squire left, Philippe opened his eyes. He had gone to sleep near death, and when he woke up, he was a healthy man. Nothing but a miracle could have saved him, and so the miracle occurred. Who was the squire? The prophet Elijah? The boys asked. Who knows? He certainly was not a Polish squire. Did he ever come to get the lamp? Not as long as I was in Belgorod, the old man replied. If he had been the prophet Elijah, he would have kept his promise, one of the boys remarked. Old Reb Beresh did not answer immediately. He pulled his beard and pondered. Then he said, "They have a lot of time in heaven. He might have come to their children's children or to their grandchildren. I married and moved to another village. As far as I know, the Hanukkah lamp remained with Philippe and his children as long as they lived. Some rabbi said that when God works a miracle, he often does it in such a way that it should appear natural. There were some unbelievers in Belgorod, and they said it was a real squire, a rich spendthrift, who was in a mood to squander his money. Those who deny God always try to explain all wonders as normal events or as coincidences. I'm afraid the potatoes are already burning, he said. Old Reb Beresh opened the door of the oven and with his bare fingers began to pull the half-burned potatoes from the golden coals. And that is the end of the story, The Squire, a great Hanukkah story by Isaac Beshavis Singer.